Okay, good morning everyone. So today I'm going to discuss the counting principle. So, counting, what does it mean when we say counting? Counting means to determine the number of elements of a finite set. Finite set, it means to say that it has a starting value and it has an ending value. For example, numbers, so you can have the finite set of 0 up to 1 million, 2 billion, and for letters A to Z. So that is a finite set, meaning to say countable. Okay. So this is used in counting is used to determine the elements of a particular countable set. So in counting there are two prominent rules that are used. So first is the product rule and the second is the sum rule. So for product rule, the rule states that if there are n sub 1 choices for the first item and n sub 2 choices for the second item, then there are n1 times n2 choices for the first two items. So for example, for n1 choices, you have letters A to Z. That is for the first item. And then for the second choice, the choices are uh, numbers 0 to 10. Then, in order to determine the choices for the two items, you are just going to multiply choices for A to Z and for the first item, and choices for the second choices are numbers 0 to 10. Okay, that is for the product rule. For the sum rule, if there are n1 choices of an elements from set 1 and n2 choices from an element from set 2, so you are just going to have the sum of S1, the intersection of S1 and S2 is empty, and there are N1 plus N2 choices of an element from the union of S1 and S2. Meaning to say, with the sum rule, you are just going to add those elements of the set which belongs to element of the sets of both sets S1 and S2. Okay, so we have your example for the product rule. For the product rule, uh, one of the clue if you are going to solve for a particular problem is sa product rule, the word and is there. Meaning to say, if the statements involve and procedure, you have to apply product rule. Okay. So, example. Okay, we have here letter A. We need to perform procedure 1 and if you have observed and is emphasized here, nakakapital letter siya. It is because when we see and, we are going to use product rule. In letter B, there are N1 ways to perform procedure 1 and there are N2 ways to perform procedure 2. So to apply, you have to multiply the number N1 ways with N2 ways. Okay. For the sum rule, the keyword in a problem that you can determine that you are going to apply the sum rule is the word or. Okay? So we need to perform procedure 1 or procedure 2. So for procedure 1, there are n ways, n1 ways, and for procedure 2, there are n2 ways. So when to apply sum rule, if you will see a statement using or keyword, then therefore you are using the sum rule or you will apply the sum rule. So to do that, you have to add N1 and N2 ways to perform procedure 1 or procedure 2. And this or is an exclusive or. meaning one choice or the other, but not both. Okay, so example. We have here how many ways, question 1 states that how many ways can we label a chair if each label consists of both a letter and a number between 1 and 50 inclusive. So, the key word there is and. Both letter and a number, meaning to say, you can label a chair that involves letter and a number. Okay. How many letters do we have in the alphabet? So in the alphabet, there are 26 letters. Those letters are letters A to Z. And for the number, it states that the number should be between 1 and 50 inclusive. When we say inclusive, it means to say that 1 and 50 is included. Okay? Again, when we say inclusive, the number between 1 and 50 inclusive, it means to say that ang 1 ug ang 50 i-appeal siya sa count. So therefore, to do that, so since there are 26 letters in the alphabet and there are 50 numbers that will be involved in labeling a chair, so therefore the answer is you are going to multiply 26 and 50. What is the 26? 26 represents the letters in the alphabet and 50 represents the number in your the number between 1 and 50. So multiplying, so you have 26 times 50, that is equal to 1,300 ways that we can label a chair wherein you are going to use both letter and a number. So there are 1,300 ways nga pwede nimo i-label ang chair nga nag-involve ang label og number and a letter. Example. Example of this one is, example of the label is both man daw. So dapat there should be a letter and there should be a number. So you can have A1, A2, A3 up to A50. You can have B1 up to B50, C1 up to C50, and so on and so forth up to Z. Z1 up to Z50. So that's why the combinations that you can derive or the number of ways that you can derive is 1,300. Because ang A, you can have A1 up to A50, so that is 50. 50 ka ways. And then, you have A to Z. Ang Z is another 50. So, if you're going to multiply 26 by 50, that's why you will come up with 1,300 ways. Okay. Question number 2. With 31 flavors of ice cream, 4 sizes of serving, and a choice of cone or dish, how many different orders of ice cream are there? So, pila ka flavor? We have 31. Sizes of serving is 4. And a choice of either cone or dish is 2. Kay cone man siya or dish. So, how many choices? Duha. So, how many different orders of ice cream are there? So, this is the application also of a product rule. So 31 times 4 times 2, that is equal to 248 ways. So 31, that represents the flavors of ice cream. Then 4 represents the sizes of serving. And ang 2 represents the choice between cone or dish. So that's why you are going to multiply the flavors of ice cream, sizes of serving, and the choices of either cone or dish. So there are 248 different orders of ice cream. Okay, with this particular problem. Okay, questions? Okay, so none. So therefore, question number 2 is an application of a product rule because you have there this and keyword. Okay. Next example, this is an application of the sum rule. So when we say sum rule, dapat may makita tayo na or na keyword. Okay, so example is there is one position available for a faculty job at Irvine. The applicant must come from either Berkeley, which has 20 candidates, or UCLA, which has 50 candidates. So, what is the total number of possible candidates for the position? So, therefore, since may nakita tayong either or, meaning to say we are going to apply the sum rule. Okay, so the answer, the applicant must be from Berkeley or UCLA. So we have 20. Ang 20 are those applicants coming from Berkeley and 50 candidates or applicants coming from UCLA. So uh, getting the sum of two applicants from Berkeley and applicants from UCLA, so you have 20 plus 50, that is equal to 70. So there are 70 possible applicants for the position, for the available position. Okay? Next question. Next example. At a restaurant, there are 18 dinners with meat, 10 different dinners with fish, and 5 vegetarian dinners. How many dinners to choose from? So the answer is each dinner is meat or fish or vegetarian. So we have 18 plus 10 plus 5, that is equal to 33 different choices. Okay. In this particular example, wala kang makitang or na keyword, right? But the question is how many dinners to choose from. So intuitively, in this example, it says that out of the out of the given example of dinners, meat, fish, and vegetarian, you are going to choose how many choices that you are going to choose out from the given. So, you have to apply the sum rule that is adding the 3 different choices. Okay, meat, fish, or dinners. Why not apply the product rule? Okay, let us go back from the previous slides. Sa previous slide kasi, it states that sa product rule, as a sum rule, there are n1 choices of an element from S1 and n2 choices of an element from S2. So in our example, our sets there are meat, and then the fish, and the vegetarian. So for S1, there are N1 choices. The N1 choices for set 1 is there are 18 for meat, and then S2 represents the fish set wherein it has ilang choices. Let me see. There are 10 for fish and 5 for vegetarian. So our S3 is the vegetarian, which has 3, which has 5 choices. So out of the choices of those elements of S1, S2, and S3, so we have to apply the sum rule. Okay? Okay, so I hope I made myself clear with this presentation. So, If you have questions related to the presentation, you can comment down on the thread in our Google Stream. Okay, so thank you and have a good day.